Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, as we, a bunch of international friends, get together again to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good stuff. I say again because we actually tried doing this stream a little bit earlier, had a system freeze, and don't you love the world of technical problems? They happen, guys, they happen. So the joys of doing these sorts of shows live. I'm, of course, not alone here today. I'm being joined by the one and the only, the great Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. This little delay let me watch that new Hellboy trailer over and over again so I could really enjoy that version, that symphonic version of Deep Purple's Smoke on the Water.
If only we were going to talk about that today. I know, right? I love that music in there. And of course, also joining us today is Ashley Whalen. Ashley, how are you doing?
I'm still doing good. I feel like we're now in an episode of The Russian Doll.
Yeah, there's a little bit of deja vu going on here around this whole stuff. And you guys might have noticed my, let me just bring this up here, my jacket. Now, the reason I got, you guys know me, every once in a while, I just like to be a little bit of a shit disturber. I just like to poke the hornet's nest a little bit. And I am purposely wearing this, just trying to trigger the little cupcake betas who lose their minds and go so upset because somebody dared suggest that the movie studios shouldn't just invite white male press to their things, and they completely lose their minds. And I just love seeing the reaction. So here you go, guys. I'm just trying to get as many people triggered today as possible. I shouldn't do that, but I like it. What can I say? It's Friday. It's Friday. So listen, I'm not going to be wearing this long because it gets hot in here as I do the show. All right, guys, listen, we got a bunch of things we need to talk about today, again, and we're going to start things off with this. Now, of course, one of the all-time greatest achievements that mankind has ever lofted their aspirations to the stars over is the cinematic masterpiece Twins, of course, with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, in the vein of Twins, they just put out an announcement that Avengers Infinity War alumni Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage are getting together to do a comedy called Brothers. And Brothers will, of course, they say it's going to kind of be done. It's not a remake, they're saying, of Twins, but they're saying a little bit it's kind of be in the vein of Twins a little bit. What that specifically means, I'm not really sure. What I am sure about is Peter Dinklage is all kinds of awesome, and Josh Brolin is all kinds of awesome. Rob, you hear this stuff about them maybe doing this thing called Brothers. What's your reaction when you hear about this?
Well, I think it's really a secret film that's part of the MCU, where Thanos and Peter Dinklage's character from that film are going to team up and wreck shop, do something. I think he's going to make I think the casting is great. You know, every time I watch Josh Brolin on like a talk show or something, the dude is straight up hilarious. And watching the two of these guys together in a movie, it brings me no end of delight to think about the possibilities of them together. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of both of these guys. And whenever you get like ridiculously talented people together, like a Josh Brolin and a Peter Dinklage, and I just don't think we get enough Peter Dinklage as it is. It looks like it'd be fun. Now, look, listen, this is also being brought to us by the guy who wrote Holmes and Watson. So let's temper maybe our expectations a little bit. Let's just be a little bit cautious. But the concept is so good. And apparently there was like a straight up bidding war between companies trying to get their hands on this, and Legendary Pictures ended up winning it. And so Legendary Pictures is going to be producing it. So at least that's a good sign in of itself. So let's see if this actually turns into anything. I know I am more than just a little bit intrigued by it for sure. All right. Let's move on to another little thing off the top here. Of course, Jordan Peele burst onto the scene a little while ago with his movie Get Out. And everybody just started buzzing about this comedy genius who did this little horror film. It took him to the Academy Awards. He won an Academy Award, and we've all been looking forward to his new film, Us. The question is, how many people have been looking forward to Us? Well, we got a little bit of a glimpse of that answer, as it's right now being reported that tracking has come out and said that Us is looking at opening anywhere between $35 and $42 million. So they're kind of pegging around $40 million is where this movie's going to open. Now, the analysts are also saying that could change after this film debuts. I think it's South by Southwest that it's debuting at. I think so, in the next week or two. And they're saying, like, we had the same kind of a situation with A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place had certain tracking, then it debuted at the film festival, and everybody lost their minds over it, and then it overachieved. They're saying that could happen with us as well if it's good. So, Rob, let me put this over to you. If things hold, do you think a $40 million tracking is around where us is? Do you think that's really reflective of where the anticipation and buzz level for us is right now? Or do you think it could go like much higher than that?
I think it could go even higher. I mean, that trailer is actually, there's been a couple, are bonkers. I mean, that movie really looks weird and scary and disturbing and right up my alley. I can't wait to see this movie. I really liked Get Out, and if it looks like it's in some kind of not a similar vein, but that it has, again, I'm attracted to, when it comes to my fantasy cinema, intellectually interesting premises, and this movie looks like it has a bonkers premise, at least in the trailers. I mean, there's an identical, a family's been cloned or doubled or something, and they're insane, and I don't know what's happening in this movie, but it's right up my alley. I can't wait.
You know, it's kind of funny that you mentioned the trailers, because one of the things they were saying in the analysis of it about why it wasn't much higher than 40 right now is they're saying that they're finding general audiences just aren't really connecting with the trailers so far. Like the trailers so far, they're saying to the general moving audience looks like a little weird, but they're not really sure what's going on. They're not quite sure what the idea of the movie is. And they're saying that there's a little bit of a disconnect. But again, that could all be solved real quick if it premieres at this festival and word of mouth starts to fly about it. It could turn that around. And I think you could see this thing opening to 60. I think you can see us opening to 60. I don't think that's outside of the realm of possibility. I know the first time I saw the trailer, it didn't wow me. It's one of these weird situations, Robs. I watched the trailer, it didn't wow me, but the more I watched the trailer, the more I kind of tuned into it, I guess, a little bit, and it's been more effective for me the more times I watch it.
Right.
So I don't know if that's the thing, but we'll have to see. I'm gonna say it's gonna open up around 60. I'm gonna go out on the limb here and guess 60. All right. With those off the top things out of the way, let's move on now and get to our main topics of the day. How do we pick out our main topics here in the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You guys select our main topics by emailing me your topics and questions anytime, 24/7, to john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Make sure you guys put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, make sure you keep those emails to 90 words or less. With that out of the way, Ashley, what's our first topic today?
All right, first email of the day is from Patreon supporter Amin. Hello, guys. I was looking at upcoming release dates for the MCU films and noticed that the next film after Far From Home is scheduled for May 1st, 2020. If this release date stays and the recent comments from Kevin Feige are true, that means when they announce that film, we will be around 10 months from its release. So, do you think Disney Marvel can keep a film that would probably be in front of cameras by that point under wraps and a secret that close to its release?
Rob, here's the thing. There are, first of all, the notion, you're right, May 1st, 2020, Marvel has planted a flag on that date saying we have an untitled Marvel film coming. That's 1 year away. I mean, it's just a little over 1 year from now of a film they haven't even officially announced yet. Can they do that? Can they keep it? Well, here's the reality, though. The reality is, they've already talked a lot about several films they already have in development, right? They've already talked about a number of them. So keeping that in mind, I would propose, here are my front runners. Here are my front runners of the films that I think could be the movie that is going to open on May 1st, 2020. Starting off with Black Widow. Look, there's been tons of talk about Black Widow. They got their script written. They already hired the director. They've already done some casting. I mean, we know this is a movie that's coming. And so I think that is the most likely movie that is going to pop up on May 2020. But there's some other possibilities. We know Ryan Coogler and Marvel already worked out their deal for him to come back and direct Black Panther 2. I believe Black Panther is certainly an option. We already know, going on to our third option, that Derrickson has also re-upped and he is directing Doctor Strange 2. So that's another film we already know is coming. So that's certainly a possibility for May 2020. Now, on top of that, I'm going to suggest a left field one here. I think the fourth most likely one here is Miss Marvel. With Kamala Khan, because that checks off a couple of boxes, right? Number one, with the popularity of Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man in the MCU, the whole idea of a teenage hero. That seems to be kind of a hot thing right now. When we go down all the rest of this list, these are all grown-ass adults. Maybe the idea of a teenage hero Could be kind of cool. And also, we're heading into the 23rd MCU film, and only 1 out of the 23 has not featured a white lead. This would give them a little bit more diversity. That'd have a 2nd out of 24 films, or 25 or 26 by that time, whatever. So it does check off a couple of boxes. Now, it's a little derivative of Captain Marvel. And I think that's the one big strike against the idea that that could be it, and that's why I put it in the number 4 position. But the fact that it's a teenage character, all that kind of stuff, that could be a possibility. Then a couple of outside shots I want to propose that are possibilities. One, Rob, this one will make you happy, Moon Knight. I think Moon Knight is an outside shot. However, we haven't heard them talking about it, so I can't rank it any higher. So I think it's pretty unlikely this coming in just a year, but it's an outside shot. And then, of course, Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock is a character that's been alluded to at least a little bit at some points. Again, we haven't heard anything, unlike Black Widow, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange, where we already know the wheels have been in motion for those things. But those are my contenders, I think, for the most likely films that we're going to hear announced for May 1st, 2020. Might be one of these, might be none of them. Rob, let me ask you. Do you like my picks? You got some other ones? What do you think is going to be the film that opens up for the MCU in May of 2020?
Well, I think Black Widow. I think it's going to be Black Widow. One of the things that people don't, I don't know if they get that or not, but you know, Marvel's been basically making movies in Atlanta for years.
Yeah.
So they could actually have been shooting part of this movie. I mean, they had everybody there for Infinity War and Endgame reshoots and all kinds of things. So you never really know where they are in terms of production, because they're kind of always in production on something. So it would be very easy to start making one of these movies and not even officially announce what's going on. I mean, you know, because we don't know much about these movies when they're in production. They're just making movies all the time. So I could see them. They might have already shot part of Black Widow movie. I think that's probably the most likely candidate, because you know, with the visual effects, having only a year to make these movies is not a lot of time. So maybe it's already underway and we just don't know it yet. I mean, Kevin Feige has said we're staying really tight-lipped about what we're doing until after Far From Home.
I don't know, man. In a world today where every single person walks around with an advanced global communication device in their pocket with audio and visual capabilities, the notion that they could be shooting a movie right now and nobody knows that, I mean, it would be cool
if they could of something else, reshoots, maybe. You know.
I don't know, but if they could pull that off, that would be impressive. I have a hard time believing they're already shooting. I just think we would know about it. But if anybody can pull that off, it would be Kevin Feige. If anybody can pull something like that. So you agree with me, the number one option here is probably Black Widow, yes?
Yes.
All right. What do you think about the Moon Knight possibilities? Like, honestly, look, there's a lot of things to Moon Knight. Do you think it's a character that could fit in the MCU the way it currently exists?
Here's the one thing about Moon Knight. Moon Knight is kind of, by definition, a smaller character, even though Moon Knight's been in the West Coast Avengers. Moon Knight is more, I think, suited to television because, everyone knows I dearly love Moon Knight, but he's more of a character like that would fit on the Netflix platform if there was still a Netflix Marvel platform, because he's just a smaller character. And I'd love to see a Moon Knight movie. I don't know if it would really fit in with the MCU, but you never know.
Well, guys, what do you guys think? I've proposed 6 potential candidates here: Black Widow, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and Adam Warlock. Do you think it could be any one of these? Do you agree with Robert and I that it's most likely going to be Black Widow? And if it is, why the secrecy? Just tell us it's Black Widow. I know. Jump down to the comment section and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that out of the way, Ashley, what is the next item up for bids here today?
I hope you guys are right, and it is Black Widow. That's what I'm pulling for. So
I think it is.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one is Darren Goodwin. So far, my favorite movie of the year is Alita: Battle Angel. I know it didn't have a great opening weekend, but I was hoping when it opened in China, it would push it into profitability. No such luck. The movie only opened in China to under $70 million, and the whole box office total is just $286 million. Is it safe to call it a flop at this point? And do you think they could still make another one due to the positive fan reactions to it? Thanks.
Well, I would say this. I would say that Alita Battle Angel is currently flopping, but I don't know that we can just definitively say that it is a flop. it's behind the eight ball a little bit, because what a lot of people were hoping was that, okay, Alita Battle Angel didn't have a real strong opening weekend, but they hoped for legs. Usually you see films drop around 50% from week 1 to week 2 at the box office, right? That's kind of your average, 50 to 51 to 52% drop. That's to be expected. What a lot of people were hoping was that Alita would have some legs and maybe only drop 40%, maybe only drop about 42%, something along that. Unfortunately, it actually dropped about 58% from week 1 to week 2. So it didn't have legs, at least not significant legs that can make it really play catch up on that level. The film needs roughly anywhere between $450 and $500 million to break even. Because the general rule of thumb, every film is unique, but the general rule of thumb is that a movie needs to make roughly triple its budget, its production budget, to break even. The Alita Battle Angel movie cost about $200 million. Fox says, well, it only really cost $170 because we got some tax credit back. Okay, fine. So let's go with $170 million. That means you got to come in around anywhere between $450, $500 million just to break even. The film is sitting at about $280 million. It's already opened in China. It's going into its third weekend here. But I'll say this. While I will say the movie is currently flopping, I don't think we can write it off that at the end of the day, it will flop. Okay, I don't think we can. I think there's still a chance it can continue to scratch and claw and get closer at least to that break-even number. And I'll tell you why. Because I like this movie. Like, a lot of people continue to talk about some of the problems of the film, and it does have some problems. Terrible love interest, some cringy dialogue, a bad ending, stuff like that. But it's got the most important thing, which is a lead character you can get attached to and cheer for, and you get emotionally invested in immediately. They did a great job with the Alita character, and you get bought into that character. And once you're bought into that character, the action that the character then gets involved in is all the more exciting. Because I've always said, Rob, great action and visual effects without narrative purpose is just visual noise.
Right.
A good example of that is a couple of the Transformers movies. When you get bought into Alita as the hero of the film and you're loving her, all the action now has narrative purpose for you and just gets heightened all the more. And I think Alita Battle Angel is an enjoyable viewing experience. Yes, it has some problems, but it's an enjoyable viewing experience. And I think it deserves better than what it's getting right now. But I would suggest this, Robert. I think that even if this movie flops, and at the end of the day, it loses $100 million to the studio or what have you. Even if that happens, and I don't believe it's a guarantee that it will, normally that would close the book on a potential sequel for a lot of franchises. I would suggest that even if Alita ends up losing a bunch of money, I still think there's a path here for the possibility of them doing a sequel anyway. Number one, the studios have infinite trust in James Cameron. Now, he didn't direct this. He's producing it, but they have a lot of belief in James Cameron. Number two, there is some really good positive feedback for this film, and it is ripe for a sequel. So I think, Rob, that this is one of those situations that even if this movie ends up losing money, I think there could be a way that they go ahead and greenlight a sequel regardless. How do you see that?
Well, again, there's a lot of James Cameron movies he's doing the research and development for the entire industry right now. Some of the technology that they utilize to make Alita have been now utilized for the Avatar sequels and moving forward. So I think that there is a way that this film might eventually achieve some kind of profitability in some way, shape, or form, even if that's carried forward into the Avatar sequels. And I do think that this film has a lot of audience goodwill. I think people like the character of Alita, and I wouldn't be surprised at all because they could probably make a sequel far cheaper than they made this first film. And we could see Alita return because, like she has a lot of, like what you said, the audience. I think the audiences for the most part really have liked this movie. I haven't heard anybody go, "It sucks," which is the worst criticism I've ever heard anybody say. I mean, I hate when people say that. It just dismisses the work of thousands of people. "Oh, it sucks." No, dude, you suck. But this movie has a lot of goodwill. And I think people like it. Let's see how it does also in the ancillary markets. I mean, it could be a huge hit streaming and on home video. Who knows? Yeah.
So let's see how this turns out. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. And if you haven't seen Alita, I suggest you check it out. Again, don't go in thinking it's going to be the greatest movie of all time. It does have some issues, but if you're just going in and you need good characters with good action surrounding them and all that kind of stuff, I think it's a fun time, and I think there's something there worth seeing. All right, with that down, Ashley, what is the next topic today?
Next is from Greg Allison. Top of the day, folks. I know a lot of people didn't exactly love the first Hellboy trailer, but I thought it was actually not bad. But now it's on. The new trailer is just perfect for a Hellboy movie. The big guy's attitude is perfect. It looks like it'll be pretty gory, and the humor made a laugh more than a few times. It'll never work. I'm a Capricorn, and you're effing nuts. I think this trailer will be much better received than the first one. What do you guys think of it?
Rob, I'm going to tell you what. I really like this trailer. I liked it a lot. Now, when that first trailer came out, I think you and I had the same reaction to the first trailer. At first, we're like, this is the Hellboy trailer? Like, it was just not what we were expecting. And when I watched it a few more times, I'm like, okay, I get what you're going for here. I can appreciate where you're going for. But it's just that it caught me so off guard at first because it was just so different from what we thought that trailer was going to be. So fine, whatever. And it rubbed a bunch of people the wrong way. And I'll be honest with you. When I got the email last night from the publicist saying, hey, we're launching this new Hellboy trailer tonight. Here, take a look. I was like clicking on it and going, oh, do I really want to see this? And I clicked on it. I loved it. And I think you're exactly right in the email when you're saying this nailed it. It got the personality of Hellboy. It showed, like, a lot of people saying, hey, I thought we were getting this R-rated thing. They went hard R really with this red band.
I've been thinking about buying a player and stashing it and not opening it until the day comes where I might need one. But, it's really, what do you want? How do you get, here's the thing. I believe that you should be using things the way you want to use them today. Like, it's not like your movie collection is not like a bank or buying stocks where you're thinking about the future, and you should be enjoying your movies now, and don't worry about what you're going to do with your films in 5 or 10 years. Enjoy them now. And when that time comes, that you have to make a decision, go do that. That kind of looks like my house. But then do that. I mean, what are you doing now, and make your life enjoyable now? And if you've got a collection of movies, keep them. Hang on to your movies. You don't have to get rid of them. They're already yours. So,
yeah, I think there's a couple of routes here you could take. Now, I know, technically speaking, I should give this kind of disclaimer. Technically speaking, I believe it is still technically illegal to make a backup copy of your own Blu-ray that you have bought and purchased with your money. I find that to be the most ridiculous thing in the world. I mean, if I bought a toaster, it's mine. And if I want to plug it in and stick my dick in the top just to get a little bit of a buzz, that's my business.
Wow, John.
That's what as ridiculous and stupid as it is, if I want to do that, that's my business. It's my toaster. Now, so I don't own Blu-rays. I don't own DVDs. I mean, I'm a digital guy at best. But I'll tell you what, if I was an owner of that, damn right I'd be backing up my collection. You're damn right. I paid for those things. And these discs are fragile little things. And the weirdest things can happen to them and all that kind of stuff. The other thing I would kind of suggest is this. There are a lot of people who love collecting these things. As Blu-ray content starts to decrease, if you start to replace your Blu-ray content onto digital, I would start looking for a market to sell your stuff, because, as these things become harder to get, your discs, your collection could actually become quite valuable, because the rarer something gets, the more valuable it becomes, and they're going to get rare, and there's going to be demand out there for people who want that stuff still. So I might suggest holding on to your Blu-ray collection and wait a year or two until the demand starts to get down. Because, Rob, I know you've talked to me a little bit before about possibly at some point in time, maybe lightening your load and getting rid of some of your discs. Because at some point, these things could be worth a lot of money.
Well, as an example, like, I got this in the mail yesterday, which is the 4-disc. This is the 4-disc 4K version of John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. And Studio Canal released 4 John Carpenter discs. And the reason I show this is it's already out of print.
Wow.
It was out of print before it was even available. Like I got it from Amazon UK, and they had made these 4-disc sets that a lot of people didn't know existed. So it's the first time They Live, Escape from New York, The Fog, and Prince of Darkness were released in 4K. These 4-disc collector's editions are gone. And this was just released last week. Now they're releasing the 4K discs, the movie-only versions, in March because the demand was so huge. But these 4-disc special sets are already gone and selling for $100 on the secondary market already.
Wow.
So yeah. So if you're not up on this stuff, it can disappear quickly.
All right, Ashley, let's move on to our final email of the day.
Last one is from Amir. Did you guys see that the new Rambo movie is coming out on September 20th, just 1 week after It Chapter 2? The synopsis for the movie sounds great to me. The last Rambo movie was the first one I ever saw, and I went back to watch it, all of them, after seeing it. I can't wait for this movie. What do you guys think of the release date, and can it stand up to a strong movie like It 2?
Rob, yeah, so this is kind of, we were talking the other day about how, Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is opening 1 week after a little film called Lion King is coming. This is going to be box office juggernaut. You and I both felt that the films are significantly different enough that it's really not going to be too big of an issue. It's going to be an issue, but not too big of an issue for a film like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Okay, now let's fast forward a little bit. We've got a new Rambo film coming, probably the last one. It's being called Last Blood.
Right.
Rambo, Last Blood, which is a play on the first Rambo film, Rambo, First Blood. And I'll believe it's the last one, Sylvester, when I see it. Anyway, so this thing's coming out 1 week after It, which is assumingly going to be a fairly, not Lion King big, but it's going to be assumingly a pretty big film. Do you think a film like Rambo can stand up on the second week of It?
Well, again, I think it's different audiences, or it kind of is the same audience. But I mean, the Rambo movies, First Blood came out in 1982.
Yeah.
And the people that want or like these Rambo movies, which I do, I'm a fan of the Rambo franchise. What is this? This is the 5th Rambo movie.
Yep.
I don't think it's really the same audience. I think that people are going to go see It Part 2, is a younger audience. And it was a huge hit. I mean, it made $500 million worldwide. So there's a gigantic audience for it, but I don't think it's going to cut into Rambo's business. This is a much smaller movie than It. It has a much lower profile, so it doesn't need to make the same kind of money that It needs to make. It's not expected to. So I think the people that are going to want to go see this movie, I mean, I think Sylvester Stallone in a cowboy hat playing John Rambo kicking ass, I don't think it's going to have any problem making any money. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm really excited about it because I went into the last Rambo and Rocky both kind of follow the same little development path. They were both kind of became franchises, especially after Rocky, what was it, 5? Yeah, after Rocky 5. And
yeah.
A couple of the Rambo movies were just kind of silly stuff, whatever. And then Sylvester Stallone comes out with Rocky Balboa, which totally rejuvenized that franchise. It was one of my favorite of the entire series was Rocky Balboa. It ain't about how hard you can hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And then he did the same thing with Rambo. And he came out and did that last Rambo movie. You got guns? No. You ain't changing nothing. So he comes out with that and kind of, that movie was really good. I really liked that last Rambo movie. Now, for those of you who don't know what this new Rambo is about, here's the official synopsis for the new Rambo movie. Rambo, Last Blood, finds John J. Rambo coping with intense PTSD while living on a ranch in Arizona, trying to pick up casual work wherever he can. Soon, his friend and estate manager, Maria, informs him that her granddaughter went missing after crossing into Mexico for a party. So John travels south of the border to find the youngster. The quest quickly turns into a violent descent. Really? Violent? A Rambo movie? Turns into a violent descent into hell as Rambo uncovers a sex trafficking ring, teaming up with a journalist whose half-sister has also been kidnapped. Rambo has to deploy all of his skills to save the girls and bring down a vicious crime. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here, Robert, and I'm going to guess that John J. Rambo finds a diplomatic solution to calmly settle the dispute. I think that's the way this is going to go. He's going to say, let's sit down and talk. I do a terrible Sylvester Stallone. I don't know why I'm bothering to do that. This is going to be bloody as hell. This is going to be him pulling guns out of his arse and shooting people in the face. And there's going to be a whole bunch of that. And it's going to be sex traffickers. So we're all going to be, yeah, kill him. So I'm actually really quite looking forward. Where's your anticipation level for this one right now?
Well, first of all, Sylvester Stallone is 72 years old.
Yeah.
and I'm hoping that this movie is his Unforgiven. You know, where it's kind of the same.
That's a great
thing.
analogy. I like that.
You know, and although unlike Ned, the Morgan Freeman character, I do believe that John Rambo is not long for this world. I think he's going to go out in a blaze of glory in this movie. I think he's you know, sex trafficking is one of the issues du jour around the world, and they're going to attack it head on. He's going to kick some ass, and I can't wait. I look, it's going to be like the last Rambo. That movie was so bloody. I mean, people were just eviscerated left and right, and it was so much fun to watch. And I just want to see. I want to see Rambo slitting people's throats. I want to see gigantic weapons that he's still able to hold, and he just blows motherfuckers up. I can't wait. This movie's going to be awesome. Awesome.
By the way, have you watched any of Sylvester Stallone's workout videos training for Rambo 5, like getting ready to do Rambo 5? It's stupid. Like, it's here's how unbelievably ripped and bulked this guy is. In Creed 2, he purposefully always kept himself covered up as to not upstage Michael B. Jordan. They always kept him, because he's supposed to be old man Rocky now. He's old man Balboa now. But when he takes that jacket off, there was this behind the scenes thing of him and Michael B. Jordan doing a speed bag competition together. And like Stallone's arms are still like this. Like it's sick. It's absolutely ridiculous. But you know, he's going to just, I think he believes this is his last hurrah. Obviously as this character. I think you're right, Robert. I think he is going to go nuts in this movie. I think he's going to go balls to the wall. He did it in the last Rambo. The body count in the last Rambo was crazy high. I think he's just going to try to top that. And I think we're in for a gory good time. I think we're in for a really good, gory good time. All right, guys. That'll do it for all of our main topics today. But as we like to do here on the John Campea Show, we like to save time, take some live topics from you guys. And a bunch of you guys have been firing in a whole ton of stuff into the live chat board. So, Ashley, what's first up in the live chat board today?
All right. Super chat number 1 is from Technovine. John, you should know I collect 1 to 12 scale import figures from Bandai SH Figure Arts. They're like mini hot toys. Recently got Thanos and Princess Leia.
And you know, I've heard of those, but I'll be honest with you, Rob. I like the larger scale ones. It doesn't have to be 6 scale like the regular hot toys. But I mean, there's like Diamond Selects. They put out some good stuff, but normally they're a little bit smaller. I like the larger figures. Like, I know you are quite akin to the 1/6. Do you collect anything much smaller than that, or do you really like 1/6?
I used to, but these figures are really good figures, and the Bandai line is really wide reaching. They have not just superheroes, but they've got a lot of other movie figures, Star Wars, other figures than that. I mean, it's a great line. There's a lot. It's a very expansive line. Great. It's great stuff. Really great. If you want to get these figures, one of my favorite and one of the most dangerous websites on the internet is Hobby Link Japan. Ooh. If you go to Hobby Link Japan, man, just bring your wallet and don't expect to come back alive. That's all I'm telling you. Hobby Link Japan, man. Yeesh.
Yeah. We call them danger stores, like Fry's Electronics. That's a danger store. So I'm always going to walk out with my wallet a lot lighter. All right, what's next?
Gatlin Winter, ending of Hellboy trailer was hilarious. You're
damn right it was. I thought that line was great. Yes, and it's also David Harbour's delivery of the line. The line itself is hilarious. Well, you know, I don't think it'll work because I'm a Capricorn. I thought he was just going to finish the joke. I'm a Capricorn and you're a Pisces, and that was the joke. And I was anticipating that. And then this thing, I'm a Capricorn and you're fucking nuts. I just thought the delivery was great. The tone of it. Here's what I'm worried about, though, Robert. We have seen, like Alita Battle Angel, we have seen when first trailers do not impress, it's tough for a movie's marketing campaign to recover. Because that first Alita Battle Angel trailer turned a lot of people off that I think they didn't get back. And they didn't get a lot of those people back. And I think that's why I struggled. If they had started off with like the second or third trailer they had put out for Alita, I think they would have had a lot more people on board. I'm a little nervous for Hellboy because while I love this trailer, that first one lost a lot of people, I think. And I just don't know that this trailer is going to be enough to get them back on board. But I certainly think they crushed it. I mean, it's a good new trailer.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Jonathan Teft. The new Hellboy trailer has made me do a total 180. The first trailer left me very unexcited, but now this movie looks awesome.
Well, Jonathan, you're speaking exactly what I'm saying. Like the will it get some? At least we know it's winning some of the people back. It's good to see you back on that, Jonathan. And I agree. I'm dying to see it. Again, a lot of people got to remember Mike Mignola is still like one of the creative forces behind this movie. The guy who created Hellboy. And he worked on the original Hellboy films as well. He's brought it over here. So you're going to see them stay true to the character, I believe. You're absolutely going to see them stay true to the character. You just got to deliver a fun movie with that character. And the first trailer may not have given us that, but this one certainly did. They should have led with this trailer. This should have been their first trailer. But it's too late to talk about that now. All right, what's next?
Richard Walton. Recently, Shazam's children book came out and had some heavy references to the Justice League and further DCEU, including the Moss movie. Makes me wonder about the future of the DCEU.
I don't think so. I think you just said it right there, Richard. It's a kid's book. And what are you going to put in the kid's book? You're going to put in all the other superheroes. So look, the DCEU still exists. Like, Rob, some people, they hear the statements coming out from Warner Brothers saying, hey, we're not looking at shared universe stuff. We're not looking at that. We're focusing on individual movies. But that doesn't mean that the DCEU doesn't still exist. It's still out there. They're not going to focus on those shared universe elements, but it's still out there. Shazam, I wish it was just a standalone movie in its own standalone universe, but it's not. It is in the DCEU. Now, I don't think you're going to get any big overt references because Aquaman showed us they're staying away from big overt references other than you beat Steppenwolf. What? Nothing. Never mind. Keep going. Like, that was the only reference to the, like, how are all these tragedies happening all over the world with the oceans rising up and Superman doesn't at least show up to investigate, right? It shows us that they are very deliberately keeping their focus on the individual films. And I expect them to do the same with Shazam, although he's still in there. Do you think there's a possibility, though, Rob, that we could see them go like beyond that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. It really depends. That's why I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the Shazam movie. I mean, they do have the DCEU. It's still out there. They're not going to get rid of it. I mean, you've got Aquaman, you've got Wonder Woman, but they don't have to. I mean, everybody's comparing and contrasting what Warner Brothers is doing with what Marvel's doing. And, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they've prided themselves on universe building almost from the get-go. And the DC universe is kind of always following in those footsteps. But look, they made Aquaman a huge hit, and they didn't have to bring in other superheroes. So it shows that both approaches can work. They don't have to. They can mention Steppenwolf and still have a standalone film. I mean, maybe Superman was saving coastal territories that we just didn't see. You know, we didn't have an opportunity to see that. And then when you see Superman again, he's like, yeah, remember when you made the oceans rise up? You know how much work I had to do to fix that stuff? You know, we just didn't see Superman or hear about him, but he was there.
By the way, I've always been excited about it, but I'm getting positively giddy about Shazam. I'm getting positively giddy about Shazam. I cannot wait for this movie. All right, what's next?
Jonathan Teft. All the chaos behind the scenes of Dark Phoenix may still have me worried, but man, that trailer was awesome.
Look, I'll tell you what, Jonathan, I still unfortunately believe that the movie will not be good just because of all the things we have heard. But if I put that aside, I like that new trailer. I really did. Now, I know, Rob, you still had some issues with it. You felt it felt very localized and stuff like that.
I did, but did you see the new trailer that dropped today, the international trailer?
The international trailer. Yeah, that was actually significantly different.
I thought it was better. I was like,
yeah,
okay.
I agree.
All right. I think this is a better trailer. I like the vibe. I like what they were showing. I mean, you know, we know the story. Look, I love these characters so much. I love these actors. I want this movie to be great. I really, really do.
But for those of you who haven't seen it, what Rob's talking about is an international trailer has also dropped. Go look for that because it goes more into what were they doing in space and the whole process of her becoming, and it's got a little bit more of them explaining that. Woo! Thank you. What's the? Why am I forgetting one of my favorite actresses' names? The blonde in the movie. She's
the redhead. Why am I trying to blank on her? You've ensorcelled me. I forgot her name.
I am freezing on her name anyway. from The Help, and I'm freezing on her name. Anyway, they go a little bit more into her. It's explaining to Jean what she is and all that kind of stuff. It's really good. You should check that thing out. So listen, take Robert's advice and go check that out. All right, what's next?
Were you talking about Sophie Turner or?
No.
She was in Zero Dark 30. She was the lead in Zero Dark 30. She was the lead in Molly's Game. She was
Jessica Chastain.
Jessica Chastain.
Yeah.
You know why we can't think about her? Because she doesn't look like herself in that X-Men trailer.
No, she doesn't.
I picture like Jessica Chastain. I always think of her as being a redhead.
Yeah, I heard redhead, so I thought.
And
Sophie
I'm like,
Turner.
what? But no, it's Jessica Chastain. We're bad people, John. Bad people.
All right, what's next?
She's incredible in Molly's Game.
Yeah, I love her in that.
Anyway, okay. DC Patience over under 26%. Detective Pikachu hits $1 billion.
I think it's going to be a big hit. I think it's going to be a massive film. I do not think it'll be $1 billion. So I'm going to take, but I would give it like a 15% chance. So I'm going to take the under on 26%. But this is going to be a big movie. This is going to be a big movie. They're marketing this thing so perfectly. It's crazy. So I give it a shot at $1 billion, but I'll take the under at 26%. What about you?
Yeah, me too. I think $1 billion's a stretch, but you never know.
Never know. All right, what's next?
Robert Tari, 2019 is huge for Disney theatrically, but 2020 seems a bit more quiet. Do you think their strategy to let Disney Plus shine more next year?
I don't think there's a strategy of, let's downgrade our theatrical stuff so we can shine. That's not how it works. And they know that's not how it works. If anything, one will feed the other. Having the bigger successes in the theaters will help you have success on the Disney streaming. So but by the way, I don't know off the top of my head what the 2020 releases are off the top of my head, other than a May 1st, 2020, Marvel film. I mean, that's the only one I know of off the top of my head. So I wouldn't guess they're doing that. Rob, would you?
No, I think it ebbs and flows. I mean, they can't expect this year. No studio is going to have the year that Disney's having this year. It's unsustainable, and they just happen to have a confluence of all of these incredible franchise properties and venerable titles like The Lion King coming out. I mean, it's okay that 2020 is not going to be the year that 2019 is, because no studio can have these years every year.
Let me ask you this, Robert. Somebody's made this suggestion, and it's a little far out there, but somebody asked, do you think Disney may hasten the decline of Blu-ray and start limiting how much they put out on Blu-ray in order to get more people to sign up to their streaming service, which would assumably be more profitable for them? It's like, hey, if you want to watch something at home, you got to watch it on Disney Plus. Do you think that could be part of their thinking?
Oh, I absolutely think so, and I think it's already been happening. I mean, the Disney's soundtracks on their discs, they're making their streaming options much more attractive. Everybody wants to move over to a streaming platform. I mean, we talked about this before. We talked about it earlier today. Physical media it's dead already. It's how long is it going to take before it's completely discontinued? I mean, DVD, there's still a huge DVD market.
Yeah.
And I mean, as we know, home video, physical media sold $4 billion worth of material last year. That is not an insignificant amount of money, but at a drop rate of 14 or 15% a year, they're selling less and less and less. I mean, if you take that $4 billion and you have a 15% drop for the next 5 years, that's pretty significant.
That's pretty big.
And in 10 years, with those kinds of drops, there won't be any physical media market left, because even I, Mr. Physical Media boy, I turn in on Netflix. I can't even be. I'll click on Infinity War, even though I've got 2 copies of it on disc, literally 5 feet away from where I'm sitting on my bed, that I don't go pick up if I've got it on streaming. And I hate to say that.
Click, yeah.
And that's what's going to happen. I mean, that's just the future. And I look, in the long run, I worry about the availability of titles. Like, I don't like the fact that I can get the classic, the original War of the Worlds from 1953, one of my favorite movies of all time. I can get a 4K version of it on the iTunes store, but I cannot get it on physical media. It bums me out, but that's going to be the norm. And I got to get used to it, or I'm going to be an old man screaming on my lawn, dude.
All right, what's next?
R Squared Games. Pokemon can be considered an anime adaptation, but really it's a video game movie. Remember when everyone was walking in traffic playing the mobile game?
Yeah, but again, there are Star Wars games. Is Star Wars a video game movie? Like, I concede that technically speaking, we talked about this already before. Technically speaking, Pokemon is a video game movie in the sense that it started as a video game, but my whole thing is, in practical terms, it's not a video game movie. The average person doesn't think of Pokemon as a video game per se. It's an enormously popular brand, so I still don't consider it a video game movie. I concede that technically it is, but I don't think in any practical terms it's really seen as such. And anyway, that's just the way I look at it. I don't think there's any right or wrong way of looking at it, and I certainly don't dispute you if you look at it that way, and that's totally fine, but that's just the way I see it. All right, what's next?
Jonathan Teft, I don't mind that they showed Mystique die in the trailer because it looks like it happened really early, and I already saw it coming a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of the things, though, isn't it, Jonathan? That they kind of, everybody knew after the first trailer, oh, funeral? Oh, it's Mystique. I mean, everybody knew. But, Rob, you brought up, an interesting angle on that. You said, what if it's not her? Or what if it's her and somebody else? What if it's Quicksilver? We really only see one shot of Quicksilver in there, right?
Yeah.
What if it's Quicksilver? What if this is a big misdirect? Now, I believe it is Mystique that dies. But, I mean, it's possible it's somebody else, right?
Always. There are always possibilities. That's what Spock said.
And if Spock said it, it's true. All right, what's next?
Unbeatable. Seen on Fox News, temperatures didn't reach the 70s in LA for all of February for the first time in 132 years.
Wow.
It was a cooler than normal month. Yeah, it was a cooler than normal. Actually, I had to, there were a couple times I actually had to turn the furnace on. Now, of course, it was also a blistering hot summer, so the temperatures are going to a bit extremes. But yeah, it was much cooler than normal here, as a matter of fact. All right, what's next?
Alexander Helmer, I'm doing an article on why Green Book is better than Roma and deserved Best Picture. Could you help me out?
Well, all film's subjective. There's no way I can sit here and objectively have you put into a factual statement that Green Book is better than Roma. I can't do that because there's no way to do that. There's no measurement. There's no quantifiable, scientific, objective measurement to tell you, oh, this is taller than this is longer than this. You can't do it.
Right.
I liked Green Book more. So I say Green Book's a better movie. But you have to understand, even when I say Green Book is a better movie, that is from my own subjective point of view. So you can't, I appreciate the effort, Alexander, because I do believe, I mean, I would have given it to Black Klansman personally, but I still think Green Book deserved it more than Roma. And so I'm happy for its win, but I can't definitively write a paper that proves Green Book was the better film than Roma. It's not something you can do. It's just not something you can do. All right, what's next?
Jackson Perez, the Lord of the Rings TV show is coming and it couldn't be here quick enough. Do you think this will revitalize the Lord of the Rings base and become a major franchise for TV?
I think, Jackson, instead of what I think will happen, it's really more a question of what I hope will happen, because as of right now, I don't know anything about the show.
Right.
I mean, we don't know who's directing it. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know what the feel of it is. I mean, it's possible, it's funny. It reminds me, Rob, when some people write to me, say, hey, John, such and such a movie comes out next year. Do you think it'll be a legitimate Oscar contender for Best Picture? It's like, I don't know. I haven't seen a single frame of it. I can't possibly guess if it's a Best Picture contender. It might totally suck. I mean, I don't know. So I will say this, though, Jackson, I'm excited for it just because it's Lord of the Rings material. And I know, and look, Amazon streaming has put out some terrific stuff. They've got one of the best shows on television right now with The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And they also did a great job with, what was the one? The transgendered one that won a bunch of Emmys.
Transparent.
Transparent, thank you. They've been putting out award-winning, really high-quality stuff. I'm looking forward to it, but can it do this and will it do this? I mean, we got to wait to at least get a sense of it. Like, Rob, are you excited for this thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think they had to spend $250 million just to get the rights.
Yeah.
And so I don't think any expense is going to be spared on this show. But again, like with any show.
I said spare no expense. It's just Jurassic Park.
Well, yeah, and all spared no. Yeah, that's a good one. Spared Hammond. I think we're gonna get. Look, watching a Game of Thrones TV series and know that they can bring that kind of quality to a Lord of the Rings show. I'm in. The real question is, what story are they going to tell? I mean, the thing about the Lord of the Rings story is that story is so epic. And I don't know if they can top that. I mean, The Hobbit certainly didn't. I mean, The Hobbit, I like The Hobbit more than most, but the Lord of the Rings story is so apocalyptic in nature. You know, it's about the end of the world. It's about the ordinary people, indeed hobbits, saving all of mankind. You know, and a Lord of the Rings show that just takes place in Middle Earth. I don't know, but I think it's going to be a good show.
Here's
I hope
hoping.
it's going to be great.
Fingers crossed. All right, what's next?
Next is from Danny R. Any actor you'd be interested in seeing a directorial debut from? I'd say DiCaprio. He's worked with Scorsese, Spielberg, Cameron, Nolan, and Arquette.
Hard to say. I mean, directing is such a different discipline. It's such a radically different discipline than directing is. And yes, you've got some actors who've certainly worked with some of the greats, and you would think that would give them a little bit of insight, but it's such a different skill set. So I'm always curious to see, actors get behind the camera and try. So I'm always curious about it, but are there any that really jump out at me that I want to see this guy do it? Not off the top of my head. Rob, do you have anybody that fits that category for you?
No, not really. I mean, I was really surprised at how good A Star Is Born was. I mean,
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper, though, is an incredibly intelligent human being. And I mean, he really is. When you watch him on French talk shows speaking in French and his jokes, and he's a very, very smart guy. And so it did surprise me. And I'm always curious to see actors when they do decide to direct. But I think a lot of actors have no desire to direct, actually.
And he's also worked with a number of very good directors.
Very good directors.
In his life.
But DiCaprio is an interesting choice. I mean, I would be curious to see what he's learned from all these people.
Because you're right, Scorsese, Spielberg. I mean, you run it down. He's worked with them, so I'd be curious. I'd be very curious if he did.
I'd like to see Tom Cruise take a shot at it, actually.
Well, he does a lot. Some people argue he directs anyway,
right?
Even though he calls the shots in a lot of his movies anyway. So that would be interesting to see too. All right, what's next?
Olivia Wilde is now directing. She just did that movie Booksmart.
That's right. I just got an invite to go see that. And
oh, really?
I love Olivia Wilde, and she's one of the most she's in one of the most interesting relationships in Hollywood because it's her and Jason Sudeikis. Mm-hmm. And I love both of them for completely different reasons, but I love both of them. So I'd be curious to see that.
Natasha Lyonne directed the last episode of Russian Doll, which she also wrote and starred in. That was a pretty interesting turn.
I didn't know that. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Next up is Aaron H. Just bought and watched Spider-Verse for the first time. Just became my third favorite comic book movie behind Dark Knight and Avengers. Can you float in the air at the smell of a delicious pie?
Can you separate yourself from the moral ambiguity of your violent actions? Can you float through the air when you smell a delicious pie? John Mulaney, by the way, is one of my current favorite comedians right now. I love John Mulaney, who did the voice of Spider-Man and that. And if you have a chance to watch his comedy specials on Netflix, you should absolutely check it out. I remain to this day absolutely floored at how much I love this movie. I can't believe how good this movie is. And especially considering I did not even like the idea that they were making it. I thought it was a bad idea. And I saw the first trailer. I didn't buy into the visual style of it, even though a lot of people love the visual style of it. I didn't buy into the visual style of it, all that kind of stuff. And then I watched that movie, and they did what Alita did as well. They did what Kevin Feige always says they need to do. Focus on the character first. And they got you attached to Miles Morales, a character that a lot of people had never been familiar with. And then they poured so much into the character of Peter Parker, a character we were all familiar with, and yet reintroduced us to him for the first time again. And they just did such a great job with that. Then when all this great stuff starts happening, you're invested and you're excited. And to me, it was the number 3 best movie of the year. I thought it was the best comic book movie of the year. Yes, I even put it ahead of Avengers Infinity War. I thought it was the best animated movie of the year, and I thought it was the 3rd best film of the year. But it didn't get nominated for Best Picture because they have the stupid little throwaway booby prize category called Best Animated Feature, which we all know they only created so they wouldn't have to deal with animated films when it came to the discussion of the best films of the year. They should get rid of that category, and they should have nominated Into the Spider-Verse for Best Picture of the Year. But that's another rant for another time. But yeah, man. And I know, Rob, it took you a while to finally see this movie.
I know it did. I did not jump on the Into the Spider-Verse train until late, but it was delightful. I can't wait to get it on Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray.
All right, what's next?
See, I loved that film, and I would go see it again today if I could. But I have to say, I still think you disagreed with me, John, but I still think the ending, they were in the hydrogen collider for too long, and the graphics, I just felt like a little bit stuck in that scene, and the graphics were just kind of not that interesting. They were just repeating themselves over and over and over again. Then maybe people disagree with me, but that was my only qualm with that movie, is that I felt like I was stuck in the collider for too long.
Right. All right. What's next?
Jonathan Taft, one of the producers on Black Klansman, is a college professor in my town. It seems like
wow.
everyone, even people who barely watch movies, can't stop talking about him winning Oscars. It's pretty cool.
That is actually pretty awesome when you can have a situation like that where it's like somebody you know, or somebody from this town, or some average guy, or so what for whatever reason ended up having a producer credit on a film and blah blah, and now they're an Academy Award winner, which I think is always awesome. Which is one, even though I don't like them having the short categories, it is one of the neat things about the Oscars though that I granted want to do away with, but still it is kind of neat when you get these people who are not famous. These filmmakers who are the closest thing to just average people as anybody at the Oscars, out there going, oh my God, 3 years ago I was selling skateboards and now I'm standing here holding an Academy Award. Like there's something kind of fun about that, especially when it's a big movie that we all know and love. And Black Klansman was, again, not just because I'm not a big Spike Lee fan, I didn't know what to expect from it. Loved that movie, man. It was my second favorite movie of the year, ahead of Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. That's how much I like Black Klansman. I loved it that much. All right, what's next?
Doug Harris, how about Damian Wayne Robin in a Batman movie?
Nope. I hate the idea of any child, of a child Robin. Now, if you want to say Damian Wayne, now for those of you who don't know, obviously the most predominant Robin is Dick Grayson. Then you had Jason Todd, who was famously killed at the hands of the Joker. And then you had Tim. And then you had, what was the girl's name from The Dark Knight Returns?
Carrie Kelly.
Carrie, yeah. You had her as well.
Carrie,
now, the most recent incarnation of Robin is Damian Wayne, who is actually the son of Bruce Wayne. He's the son of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul. And they had a son, and he was raised from birth as a lethal assassin. And he's like, I don't know, 8, 10, 12, something like that. He's this little shit because he's got this terrible attitude and everything too, which makes him a little bit endearing. But no, I am just not for any Robin in a live action film, unless it's a spoof comedy. I am not down for any child Robin movie. A child with superpowers and powers of the gods, okay, but a child with a stick, nah. I'm just not down for it. Anyway, okay, what's next?
R Squared Games, DiCaprio, Washington, and Daniel Day-Lewis are actors that if they're in a movie, I don't need to see the trailer. Are there any actors left like that for you?
There's not a lot, but Daniel Day-Lewis is definitely one of them. Daniel Day-Lewis, Denzel Washington. I wouldn't even say that. I love DiCaprio. I wouldn't even say DiCaprio his presence makes it a must-see for me, but I'm certainly intrigued if he's in it. But yeah, there merely only 2 guys, maybe 3. Maybe I'd still put, even though he's getting close to retiring, I would probably still put Anthony Hopkins on that list. But yeah, Washington, Daniel Day-Lewis, Hopkins. I mean, Russell Crowe's my all-time favorite actor, so maybe him as well. But yeah, there's not many of those. Do you have any, Rob, that there's like, if this person's in it, I'm there?
No. For me, it's always about the movie itself.
Right.
You know, I love actors, but I've never been a person that's followed an actor's career. I mean, I would go see most of the movies that Tom Cruise is in, not necessarily because I love Tom Cruise, but they're usually just high quality movies because he works with really good people.
Yeah.
So, you know, even movies like Night and Day, which is not the greatest Tom Cruise movie.
I like Night and Day. I thought it was fun.
But like American Made was a Tom Cruise movie nobody really went and saw.
I really like that.
I really liked it too. He provides quality entertainment even when he makes something like The Mummy.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
I'm all about Jennifer Lawrence. I know, like, some people, I mean, I feel like most people love her, but right now she just has that pull for me. But I agree with you, Rob. Like, it's more about the film and not as much the actor. But
yeah.
The Don, as good as it gets, is so charming.
I unabashedly love that movie.
Great.
I can't remember the character's name in it, but Mr. So-and-so, what is it? How do you write women so well? I think of a man and I remove reasoning, or I remove, logic and accountability. And it's just kind of, that line kind of sums up the entire movie. It's so funny. And look, you're talking about like Captain Amazing is in it. From start to bottom, it's a charming movie. It's a movie about what I love about it is that it reminds us that regardless of what's on the surface for a person, there could be a lot of other things beneath it. And it's really special in that way. And you got characters in that movie who see beyond the surface and other characters and see something that nobody else sees. And it's a special movie on that level. But on top of it all, it's hilarious. I love As Good as It Gets. It's a wonderful poster too. Jack just with the dog. I mean, it's a little random, but I think it's a wonderful, wonderful poster. All right, what's next?
Jonathan Teft. Taylor Sheridan's next written movie, titled Fast, stars Chris Pratt and is now directed by Gavin O'Connor. It's focused on a special forces commando taking down drug dealers. This movie is now high on my most anticipated list.
Anything by Taylor that we're talking about actors that makes it a must-see. Taylor Sheridan is a writer or a director right now who anything they do makes it an absolute must-see. Whether it's Wind River, which I'm still a little bit confused about how Wind River didn't get a Best Picture nomination the year it came out. I'm still a little bit befuddled about that. I mean, that movie was sheer brilliance from start to finish. And then you had the movie with Jeff Bridges, Hell or High Water.
So good.
So good. So freaking good. I mean, right now, Sheridan is a guy that, anything you say he's involved with, I'm there. I'm absolutely there. He's just got this great sense of character. He also writes incredible plots without making them ever seem out of control. He finds a way to make his plots seem feasible. Like, he makes his plots feel grounded and real, which only increases the tension that's built into him. Then he populates it with these multi-dimensional characters, and it's just, he's such a gift. This is a guy that is going to be around for a long time, making movies for a long time. Rob, I don't think you and I have ever talked about like your general thoughts on Taylor Sheridan.
I'm a huge fan. I mean, it's funny. I didn't see Wind River until I saw it on an airplane. And like you, I was like, man, I love this movie. I watched it twice, actually. and it was terrific. And again, and Hell or High Water, people aren't making these, studios certainly aren't making these kinds of movies really anymore. They're indie films, but they're movies that I grew up loving those kinds of films, and just to see somebody actually making them. I mean, Hell or High Water is so good.
Oh.
And the actors, the performances in that movie are so good. Chris Pine is so good in that movie. I really love. I'll watch anything that he makes.
So. All right, what's next?
Jonathan Teft. Did you see the trailer for The Kid, a Western about Billy the Kid, directed by Vincent D'Onofrio and starring Dane DeHaan, Chris Pratt, and Ethan Hawke? I think it looks awesome.
I still have not watched the trailer. I'll be honest, I still haven't watched the trailer, but I have really. Dane DeHaan is a guy who just kind of disappeared. It looked like for a while Dane DeHaan, which I think he's loaded to the eyeballs with talent.
Yep.
I thought for a while this is going to be your new monarch over Hollywood for the next decade or two, and then he just kind of disappeared. And I don't know.
He was on a Cure for Wellness and Valerian.
Yeah, Valerian.
Not a good double bill.
I honestly don't know why he was in Valerian. It was such a miscast too, because Dane DeHaan is one of the great actors right now, but I don't look at him and think this is the biggest badass in the galaxy that criminals tremble at his name. I'm sorry, I don't get that sense when I look at Dane DeHaan. I see an incredibly world-class talented actor. I would love to see reemergence from him, but I haven't seen the trailer. Rob, have you watched this trailer yet?
Yeah, and it looks great. It looks great. He's like a young Billy the Kid. It's a Western, and Vincent D'Onofrio directed it. And what's really interesting to me about D'Onofrio is D'Onofrio, of course, worked for my favorite director of all time, Stanley Kubrick. In Full Metal Jacket, he was Private Pyle. And I can't wait to see. He's had such a storied career. What he's going to bring to the screen as a director. But the kid looks great to me. Wait till you see Chris Pratt in it. He's like unrecognizable.
Yeah, because he's like the villain or something like that.
Yeah,
isn't he? Isn't he like the main antagonist?
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Did you say, is this Vincent's directorial debut? Because he's the guy from Criminal Minds, also the actor.
Yeah. I think he was. And he was, of course, in Daredevil.
Yeah, of
True.
course. Yeah, he's most well known right now for being Kingpin in Daredevil. That's kind of what everybody knows him for right now. But
But yeah, he was on he was on a procedural, one of the procedural shows
For like
for a long
15
time.
years or
Yeah,
something. Yeah. Okay.
and he's in. Don't forget, he's also in Jurassic World. he's the
right.
ass in Jurassic
That's
World
That's
too.
right. Yes, of course. Okay. Ben Rainier, over under 95%. Dark Phoenix is the first X-Men movie proper without Hugh Jackman in any way. Really sad he won't be in the last Fox X-Men proper movie.
Yeah, definitely over 95%. I don't think there's any way he appears in this. I mean, if anything, a photograph of him, maybe, but the actual Hugh Jackman showing up to set for a day to actually appear on camera, I know he's done. He retired. He retired as that character. 95 is a very, very high number, but even at that, I will take over 95%. Rob, you?
I think he's in it.
Really?
I think he's in it. I think, look, there's one thing the X-Men movies have done really well. It's those cameos. Like it was very funny because I'll tell you this quick story. When I saw X-Men Days of Future Past at Fox, I was sitting in front of Brian and I had told him, I said, a long time ago, I'd had this conversation. I said, you should if you could put in Cyclops and Jean Grey, if they changed the timeline. He's like, I could never do that. How am I supposed to get these actors there? And when I was sitting behind him and that happened, I literally yelped in the screening room and he flicked the back of my head. And he told me that they didn't fly. They had to drive them from like New York over the border into Canada so nobody would know that they were flying into town to be in the movie. I'll bet you Wolverine shows up in the film. I'll bet you he does. He's in every one of them.
But I mean, he said he's retired as the character. He didn't even pop up in Deadpool 2, which I thought for sure he would do. And he didn't do that. All right, let's keep our eyes on that. Let's see if that happens. All right, what's next?
Abraham Asaf, have you played Apex Legends? Also, I'm loving the World Series of Poker play-in chats.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, I've been playing, for my play-in chats, I've been playing World Series of Poker while chatting. The real benefit of playing poker while doing it is that I have more time to talk and interact. And yes, I've been playing a little bit of Apex Legends, and I am even worse than you might think I would be at it. I'm terrible. Terrible at that game. Like, awful bad. It's so horrible because I downloaded and I thought, this will be one I can do for playing chats. And I don't mind being bad at a video game as long as I'm having fun, but I'm so bad at it, I can't possibly stream myself playing it. Like, I just can't do it. It's just, and it's a really good game, but I just, just so bad. But and I'll probably do another playing chat later today. Maybe playing a little bit of World Series of Poker, maybe playing a little bit of Morrowind, maybe playing a little bit of Battlefield. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. All right, what's next?
Gabriel Reed, a month ago I started with one hot toy, Darth Vader, and now I have 10 anniversary Iron Man and Captain America, the Iron Man Mark II, and the Infinity War Thor came in today. Thanks, Rob.
Rob, I have been telling people, people writing me, hey, which should be my first? I'm saying, okay, so get this, but be careful. Because it can really become a bit of an obsession and a bit addicting, and this is an expensive habit to get into because these are not cheap. Rob, can you speak to that?
A hot toy addiction is worse than I imagine what a cocaine addiction was back in the 80s. I'm convinced that there's some place in the world or some places around the world where there's a dude that just drives around with hot toys in his trunk, going from place to place and like starting people on this endless addiction. But yeah, if you love action figures, if they tickle your fancy in any way, shape, or form, if you get your favorite character as a hot toy figure, you're done. That's it. Yeah. You're gonna be sucked right in, and especially when you start putting things on shelves and like display cases, and you're like, oh, I need all of the Avengers now, all of them.
Yeah.
It ain't pretty. Although
say goodbye to all your disposable income. Say so goodbye beautiful. To any potential girlfriends. Say goodbye to It's just I was so. That's why when I got my first one, I quickly got a few more. And that's why to this day, Rob, I still only own 4. I want to own 400, but I only own 4 because I had to just say, stop, because I will spend all my money on this.
And I have to say, you have Odin from Thor.
Yes, I had to have Odin.
And I love how you have him. You had him in the studio displayed. How you had one hand behind his back. He looked very regal, and I'm like, I stole that. pose from you.
Oh,
I
did
thought
you?
See, because half the fun of action figures is getting the perfect pose for when they're on the shelf. And not only did you get that perfect Odin pose, the pose you chose accentuated his character and what he was.
Okay,
And,
so Rob, I'm going to tell you right now. I know you've been working and planning on your setup there where you're at. I am telling you, you need to go to IKEA, get a bunch of those cheap glass display case boxes.
the DTOF glasses.
Put a black curtain behind 5 of those cases and that should be your backdrop. 5 of those glass cases with your favorite Hot Toys, a black curtain behind the cases, a good light on the floor shining up at them, or you can actually get those cases with the lights in the floor of them.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
That should be your setup. I'm telling you, that should be your setup.
If I were to put a wall, I have some glass display cases. I mean, if I put them in here, I think my girlfriend would either move out or she would demand that they would last for about a day. And she's like, why are all these goddamn Hot Toys in our house? You know? But you know what? Now that
have you considered a storage locker? Have you considered going to one of these you store it places, like they do in the movies, and just getting a light bulb in there and setting up a studio in like one of the storage lockers for $50 a month?
I know, I kind of got that, but you know what? Now I really want to do that. I want a backdrop of Hot Toys figures. That would be most excellent.
But you know what? If you really want them on display, you bring them over here. Like I don't know if you noticed, but like I got some room back here. If you want just a good place to display them, Rob.
That's your Funko Pops, man. I wouldn't want to besmirch that beautiful display of Funko Pops.
There's room for both. Anyway, let's think about that. All right, what's next?
I'm upset. Over under 15%. We will see Will Smith as Deadshot again.
That's a good low number there, but I'm gonna take the under. I think he is done as Deadshot. I don't think we're gonna see that again.
Me too. He's gone. But there's a great hot toy of Will Smith as Deadshot.
Of course there is.
Kevin A, part 1 of 2. Hello, John. Are this era kids and is this era kids and adults losing interest in Superman? Because I've seen some posts by people about their ideal Justice League 2 team DCEU, and Superman was not in it. I don't know what to say to them. He created a base and platform for other superheroes, comics, and movies. Superman's not getting the attention that other characters are getting. I hope someone treats the characters better in the future.
Yeah, I don't know that people in general are losing interest in Superman. I do know they've struggled with Superman. They've struggled with what to do with Superman right now. But if you do Superman right, he is still the king of all comic book heroes. He's the king. He is the Zeus on the Mount Olympus of all-time comic book heroes. If you do him right, and I still think that's there, and I still think that's a reality. Rob, how would you answer that?
Yeah, I mean, I look, one of my favorite incarnations of the Justice League was the mid-'80s Keith Giffen and J.M. DeMatteis, the humorous Justice League version, and that didn't have Superman in it. And I think you can do a great Justice League team without Superman, but Superman is the apex superhero. He's the number one. It all begins with Superman. And I think the problem with Superman is, in this day and age, he's so squeaky clean and he's so good that how do you make him interesting and palatable for modern audiences? Because, you know, we like to take our heroes down a peg. We don't like perfect people anymore. You know, we don't like the perfect embodiment of truth, justice, in the American way. So it's hard to make a Superman interesting. But I still think he's the number one superhero of all time, and he always will be.
What's next?
Tyler Yeats getting more and more excited for Captain Marvel. 1 week.
I'm getting excited for it too. I'm still like, I want to be careful not to get too excited because I don't know. I don't want to walk in. I was so excited for Lego Movie 2 and I ended up walking out a little bit disappointed and things like that. So I don't know. Like, we'll see. But I am stoked to see it. Again, I'm hearing all these peers of mine who work in the industry have seen it. They went to advanced press screenings and stuff like that. I did not. That are so stoked about it and excited about it. And I'm going to see it Monday. But yeah, I'm counting down the days to see it. I'm pretty excited for it. All right, what's next?
George Costanza. Hey, team. I know where John stands, but where do Rob and Ashley? Are you guys double dippers or single dippers? Rob?
Double dippers in terms of like buying the same movie over and over again.
No.
It's like a
Seinfeld thing where the infamous scene where George Costanza and this other guy, a throwaway character, were standing at a party and George Costanza takes a chip, dips it once, takes a bite of the chips, and then dips the chip again to get another bite with the delicious queso on it or whatever it was that they had.
I'm a double dipper.
Nice. Good. I am also a double dipper. I am a double dipper.
I think I'm a single dipper. However, I have no problem with double dippers. I actually, because of this episode, a while years later, I watched this MythBusters. They do it if germs are really bad on double dipping, and they busted the myth. They were like, you know what? It's not too bad. So double dip away, I guess.
I am a proud double dipper. All right.
I'm a double dipper.
All right, Ben Jesus. I'm a Capricorn, and you're fucking nuts. Okay, this Hellboy trailer has me sold.
And that's, again, good, because that was the question I was bringing up. Like, because a lot of people were lost on the movie because of the first trailer, is this one going to be enough to get people back on board? And now we've heard from you as well, Ben, that it sounds like maybe a bunch of people will be brought back on board. I hope that's the case, because I want to see a good, successful Hellboy movie. And fingers crossed, let's hope it does it. All right, what's next?
Scott Vosper, where would you personally rank Captain Marvel in MCU?
I haven't seen it. I have not seen the movie, so I cannot give any sort of a ranking until I see it. So
I can rank the hot toy of Captain Marvel, even though it hasn't come out yet. The hot toy is dope, especially the deluxe edition.
I saw a picture of it. It's like, holy shit, that's really good. That's really good. All right, what's next?
Jonathan T, part 1. I know we shouldn't make excuses for why someone picked one thing over another, but it still seems like the family movies and animated movies constantly don't get the credit they deserve. I would have nominated Paddington 2 and Spider-Verse for Best Picture.
Well, I mean, again, it's all a matter. It's all subjective. Like, you hear me, I complain and whine about Spider-Man not getting nominated too, but I'm not going to make excuses as to why it didn't. Like, but I do believe. Look, we know for a fact, because I've talked to enough members of the Academy to know. One of the main influences of getting the best animated category created was just so the Academy wouldn't have to deal with the issue anymore. Because the Academy for a while just didn't want to nominate animated films for Best Picture. They just didn't want to do it. And it started to become a problem with the rise of Pixar. Because Pixar, I believe the streak was like 7 out of 9 years, Pixar had the #1 critically rated film of the year. Like, it was like some unbelievable streak, like 7 out of 9 years. And none of them at that time got nominated for Best Picture. Now, we have seen a couple of Pixar films be nominated for Best Picture since. We had Up was nominated for Best Picture, and Toy Story 3 was nominated for Best Picture. So we've had it happen since, but there was this unbelievable streak, so they created this category just so they wouldn't have to deal with it. The problem is, animated films continue, like the comic book genre, get better and better. And you bring up Paddington 2. I adore Paddington 2. I love that movie. Mm-hmm. I would have gotten a real kick to see it nominated as well. But again, I don't want to make excuses for other people didn't see things the same way. But it is a growing and evolving thing, and it's just something that the Academy is not going to be able to just make go away. They're going to have to deal with the fact that these animated films are getting better.
Yeah, but John, animated movies aren't real.
Right? Yeah, I suppose.
They're animated.
Yes, so they're not real.
They're not real.
To me, like, a story is a story. Whether your medium is claymation, whether your medium is a live action actor, whether your medium is a drawn animated computer generated thing, it doesn't matter. The movie's the movie. And if the movie's the best movie, then you call it the best movie. I mean, so it's frustrating to me. It is a little bit frustrating to me. But hey, it is a current situation. Hopefully we're going to see that evolve as time goes on. Because we're seeing a lot of things change in the Academy. So maybe that'll be something that changes as we move forward as well. Okay, we just got time for a couple more quick ones. Let's keep going.
Dirk Walker, will there be Stan Lee cameos in Captain Marvel, Endgame, and Far From Home?
Absolutely, 100%. Because remember, a story came out a while ago that he actually filmed a bunch of his cameos in advance. Yeah. And remember, these movies were were probably all mostly completed shooting too by when Stan unfortunately passed away. So yeah, I 100% assume that we're going to see Stan Lee in all 3 of those films. Any
completely agree. I think you're right.
Yeah,
and I think it's good. Far From Home is going to kill everybody. We're all going to be crying
because I think that'll be the last one.
Yeah,
I think. By the way, how good was the one in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
Oh.
Wasn't that great?
It was
great.
That
was so great. All right, what's next?
I can't think of a good username. Robert, if Kevin Feige asked you to direct a Moon Knight movie, would you accept?
Let me just ponder that question for a while. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably have to turn old Kevin down.
Yeah.
Kidding me?
Hey, if somebody wanted to come up and give you a dump truck full of money, would you say yes? Yes.
I would direct a Moon Knight movie for free. Of course, you would never say. I mean, I wouldn't do it for free, but I would love to. And I even know what I would do. I know what I would do if I made a Moon Knight movie. So yeah, I would too. I totally would.
All right, what's next?
Well, Kevin, if you're listening, there you go. Magic K, Shazam is probably the most adapted MCU formula film in DCEU. Say that word.
It's how can you say that when you haven't seen the movie? I mean, that's the thing. There's a trailer for it. And by the way, lighthearted comedy isn't something that Marvel created. Lighthearted comedy.
Right.
I mean, if anything, Shazam honestly feels a lot like moonlighting. Like the old Bruce Willis TV show, there's a real moonlighting kind of feel to it. It's really more Tom Hanks big than anything else. So let's not pretend that Marvel created the idea of lighthearted action, right? I mean, I'd like to introduce you to Beverly Hills Cop. I'd like to so let's not pretend that. But I mean, again, it's hard to say because we still haven't seen the movie. So let's pump the brakes on a little bit on ascribing definitions to a film that we haven't even watched yet. So let's wait. I do know I'm crazy excited for it though. I can't wait to see it. All right, 2 more questions.
Kick It to the King Productions. What are your thoughts about the movie Unplanned, especially now receiving an R rating? The Holy Trinity, I always say, if you have an R rating, it's either 2 plus F-bombs, sex, nudity, and or bloody sequence.
I don't even know what movie we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't
Which
either.
one is it? Let me look up here.
Is it about a pregnancy?
It sounds like it'd be about a pregnancy.
Yeah.
Who's in it? I don't know anything about it. It's Ashley Burt. I have no idea what this movie is. So, sorry. Since I don't know anything about the movie, I can't give any commentary on it. I apologize about that. Kick It to the King. Okay,
it was unplanned that we were to get that question.
Yeah, I was completely unprepared for that. All right, what's next?
Jonathan Taft just watched for the first time Hunt for the Wilder People the other day. Oh my gosh,
great.
This movie is now one of my favorites of all time.
It is so good.
Loved it.
It is so good, and it's charming, and it flew under the radar for a lot of people, much like What We Do in the Shadows flew under the radar for a lot of people. But it's delightful and it's charming. And it's got some great performances in it, and you'll recognize the kid. And just a really good, sharp movie. Thanks for bringing that up, Jonathan. You saw it, right, Rob?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, so good. Really,
and
really
I love What We Do in the Shadows too.
Oh, I'm curious to see if that TV show is going to be any good, or if
Yeah.
it's just going to be a cheap knockoff of the movie. I'm a little nervous for it. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit nervous for the TV show.
They said they were going to make a sequel called We're Wolves.
Yeah, but I
Wolves.
think that got ditched.
Yeah,
I'm not
I want
sure.
to see We're Wolves.
I just want to see those original vampires again. I just want to see them back. But
I know.
all right, last question of the day. What's next?
Last one is Javier Belmer. I don't get what's wrong with the first Hellboy trailer. Got a fun vibe from it. The second stepped it up a notch. Are people just extra skeptical of first trailers? What's with the first trailer expectations? LOL.
Well, here's the thing, Javier. I think what you got to understand that a lot of people, we've been hearing it's going to be R-rated, it's going to be this. And so a lot of people, I think it's an issue of expectations. People were expecting, myself included, that we were going to get this darker, grim, bloody kind of first trailer. And instead we get Billy Idol starting to play. And it goes in a completely different direction. And I think everybody was just kind of shell-shocked for a moment about this is not what we were expecting. Now, when I watched it again, I started to tune in for what they were going for, and I appreciated the trailer. I didn't hate the trailer. I appreciated it. But again, it was just so different from what everyone was expecting that I think you can get where people are coming from. They were like, that it hit them as a little bit off-putting. Like, Rob, what was your first reaction when you saw that Hellboy trailer for the first time?
The first one, I was like, I don't know what this movie is supposed to be. Because, I know Neil Marshall, the director, a little bit. And I thought it was going to be total, like, hardcore horror. That he was going for a really dark and scary film. And even he was a little perplexed by the trailer. And I think that this trailer went a long way toward showing that it really is a dark horror fantasy. And much, much better. I'd love to see a movie. I was watching that trailer today, and I'm thinking to myself, I would love to see a movie where Hellboy actually takes Mila Jovovich up on her offer. This demon princess from hell. Why don't we get married and take over the world? I'm like, okay, You know, if you're really like, if you don't turn into like an evil monster and you're Mila Jovovich, why don't we get married and take over the world? How bad could we? It's got to be better than it would be now.
Well, so see, the thing is, their thing is not just taking over, though. They want to wipe out life. So that pretty much limits any sequels. I mean, sequels are off the table at that point. If they
Life's overrated. Human beings are a pain in the ass. You call 90% of us and you keep 10% around for fun, and then you make the world a better place.
There's your sequel right there.
Please, Thanos. God.
Yes, please.
Oh,
Thanos.
I'm not going 50%. I'm going 90. I would
90.
wipe out 90% of the human race, and Earth would be a
Dang.
paradise. Clean up the environment, clean up the oceans. Be great.
All right, guys. That's all the time we have for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Now, there's still a bunch of you guys who have questions outstanding from, I can't think of a good username, Household Films, Ahmad, all the way down. Don't worry, guys. I've got your questions. I'm going to gather them up, and I'm going to address your questions on a companion video a little bit later. Keep your eyes open for that. Your questions will be answered in a video, so keep your eyes open. That will do it for us for today, guys. I want to thank, of course, the wonderful people here joining me. First of all, the great Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
Playing with my hot toys. No, find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, or my website, theburnettwork.net.
And, of course, the wonderful Ashley Whalen. Ashley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on my Twitter at AshAttack1, or my Instagram is my name. It's Ashley Whalen.
And you guys can, of course, follow me on Instagram, simply at John Campea. That will do it for us for now, guys. And, hey, listen, for those of you who are Patreon supporters, don't forget, it is Friday, which means a new episode for our Patreon exclusive podcast, Best of the Week, with myself, Robert, and Ashley is going to be coming up a little bit later today. Keep your eyes open for that, Patreon supporters. All right, that'll do it for us for now. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. My name's John Campea, and until the next time, bye-bye.